in my middle-class neighborhood had hidden tragedies. My father, John Anderson, was tall and scary. Everyone in his company was tense, and his eyes were always rage-filled. As I recall, his thick, gruff voice often shouted throughout the house. He was abusive toward my mother, Mary, a weak woman with sad eyes that showed suffering as long as I can remember. Jessica, my older sister, tried to defend us, but criticizing my abusive father was hard. I heard screams from the living room one night when I was 8. I walked slowly down the stairs to stay quiet. At the bottom, I saw my father cursing at my mother. His aggressive voice was accompanied by a beer bottle. "You're useless, Mary. You never wear," he shouted and slammed the bottle against the wall, shattering it into glass shards on the floor. Jessica ran to stand between them, arms wide. My sister needed me to run, but I was paralyzed with fear. As I stood by, I saw my dad shove Jessica out of the way and reach out to hit my mom. This was my reality every day. I still have emotional scars from my violent upbringing. After my parents' divorce, my unhappy mother left me and my sister, a college student at the time, to fend for ourselves. Mary worked long hours for low pay as a pharmacy clerk. Even though she would get home weary and her eyes puffy from crying, Mom tried to keep things normal for me. When I visited my mom one afternoon, she was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a family portrait. Long before our worlds collided, the photo captured a joyful moment in our lives. "Ethan, tell me why this has happened to us." She remained glued to the photo while whispering something. I was at a loss for words, so I just sat next to her and squeezed her hand. When I felt lost and alone, I ran away from home at 15. Nighttime in Brooksville turned the once safe streets into a terrifying maze. With no other options, I sought solace among a group of like-minded youths. Our shared hardships allowed us to form a dysfunctional family. I still feel the biting cold and sharp air from the first night I slept outside. I hid from the cold in an alley with Sam, a boy who had also run away. We were both older. Sam asked, "Hey, kid, why are you alone?" I said, nowhere to go, shaking my voice. Sam smiled and sat next to me. "You'll adjust. We adjust, but it's hard." Sam and I became close while living on the streets. He taught me how to stay alive, avoid danger, and find safe sleeping spots. One evening, a gang of men approached us, and one of them grabbed my arm as they surrounded us. "You too, join us," he growled, seizing my arm. Sam's best efforts to fight were in vain. They held us captive in an abandoned building for days, beating, intimidating, and I thought we wouldn't survive. I still have the emotional and psychological wounds of that horrible event, and it has worsened my PTSD. When we escaped, I knew I had changed permanently. Living on the streets made me more resilient, but it also made me more susceptible to things I didn't understand. In 1989, I tried to commit suicide due to chronic migraines and an overwhelming sense of emotional misery. On that tragic night, I stayed in my room alone with the moonlight streaming in. "I can't live like this anymore. There's no way out," I whispered, shaking with grief. "Nobody cares." After the suicide attempt, my heart seemed to be fighting for its life, and I had a constant intense pounding in my chest. For a split second, the intensity of the feeling snapped me out of my numbness. With the vodka bottle in my palm, I looked down and saw that I was immobilized on bed. I was fascinated and frightened. "I'm dead," I thought as I tried to make sense of what was happening. I felt like I was outside my body and could soar effortlessly across the room, up and up, past the ceiling. As I looked out my window, I could see the distant glow of city lights and my house shrinking. I had never felt such immense joy and freedom. As I ascended, a heavy, almost tangible gloom replaced the exhilaration and lightness. A vortex of blackness seemed to be engulfing me. After the initial rush of pleasure wore off, a growing sense of fear replaced it. I could sense otherworldly entities all around me, observing and anticipating. The terrifying entity said, "You are unworthy." I screamed to Jesus, my last hope, in my vulnerability and terror. He said, "Save me." Just then, a brilliant light emerged, chasing away the evil spirits and the night. I hid my face in my hands because the brightness was blinding. As the light faded, a glowing figure approached. It was Jesus. calm and compassionate. His countenance betrayed no emotion. As he embraced me, I felt a profound sense of tranquility and spiritual healing. "Don't be afraid, Ethan," Jesus said gently. "I'll help you. You have a mission." "Why me? Just me. I've never done anything significant." I felt small among the divine. Grinning, he said, "Everyone contributes. Showing you your life will help you understand." As Jesus held my hand, we began to reflect on my life. It was like being a movie buff, but with a level of detail and clarity I'd never seen before. I could see how my actions affected others and empathize with everyone I touched. "Do you realize, Ethan, how your actions affect others?" Jesus responded, "You have enough goodness in your heart, despite your shortcomings and mistakes. You will go to heaven." With tears in my eyes, I said, "I never realized how much my actions mattered. I wish I had done more, been better." "There is still time for you to make a positive impact," Jesus said, encouragement. "But there's something else I need to show you." I could see the world as it was, but everything was changing around me. Between 2023 and 2025, Jesus showed me a timeline of what was to come, like a fast montage of scenes with breathtaking detail. The U.S. was in a severe political crisis, with long-standing institutions crumbling and leaders toppled. New forms of government emerged from the anarchy. "These changes are inevitable," Jesus said. "They will cause disruption but lead to more just and equal communities. People must change to learn and progress." I said, "That looks scary," concerned about what I would see. "How would people handle this?" Jesus said, "They will not be alone," with calm assurance. "There are witnesses for God all over the world, and they will counsel and sustain the needy." Love and compassion are essential in these times. As Jesus showed me the future, I felt curious and afraid. Vivid detail energized each vision. I saw cities in flames, protests in the streets, and world leaders in desperation. I felt hope, regeneration, and change, as well as urgency. Jesus taught me that these changes were happening on a spiritual, cultural, and political level. Jesus said, "See, Ethan," pointing to a big protest in the nation's capital. "People are protesting injustice. They expect leaders to be honest. This is essential to social progress." Marching together, I saw people of all ages and backgrounds carrying placards calling for equality and peace. They were driven, but I also saw brutality and crackdowns on protesters. It was clear that there was a power struggle. Emotionally charged scenes showing the best and worst of human nature. "These changes will come about in spurts," Jesus said. "The old order must be demolished for a better one. This process will hurt." Next, I saw in Europe. New leaders rose to power amid political upheaval in several capitals. Youths led reform initiatives, motivated by a desire for an equitable and environmentally friendly future. There were times of cooperation and harmony, but also passionate argument and conflict. In Europe, the search for a new identity and purpose will be intense, he added. They are trying to find a balance between their traditions and the need for innovation. We moved on to Latin America, where public revolutions overthrew several oppressive governments. The people established new governments based on equality and social fairness, and there was a great sense of camaraderie and mutual support. Communities worked together to restore and revitalize their civilizations. In Latin America, the spirit of community and solidarity will be the key to overcoming challenges, said. They will show the world the power of unity and love for others. As I watched these images, I felt a deep sense of obligation. I felt that I could contribute, however small. Jesus smiled at me and murmured, "Ethan, we all have our part to play. You can make a difference. Your journey continues." After foretelling events, Jesus made me reflect on my life. It was like watching a film, but with an intensity of feeling I had never felt before. Every major event in my life played out before my eyes, and I could sense the range of emotions in others whose lives I had touched. "Let us begin at the beginning," Jesus said calmly. When Jessica and I were playing in the backyard, we laughed till the sun rose up, and the sound resounded all about. I could feel the purity and joy of that moment. "These times of pure delight are priceless," he said. "They are what sustain the soul in times of difficulty." It then became a night of domestic violence in my house, where I cowered behind the door as my father raged at my mom. It was like reliving that moment. Jesus comforted me, saying, "These experiences have shaped who you are, but they do not define your worth." I see Brookstone evenings and bad company as a child were equally vivid reminders of my defiance and misery. It was all my choice, and every mistake was exposed. Jesus responded, "You have enough goodness in your heart despite your shortcomings and mistakes. You will go to heaven." With tears in my eyes, I said, "I never realized how much my actions mattered. I wish I had done more, been better." "There is still time for you to make a positive impact," Jesus said in encouragement. "But there's something else I need to show you." Jesus showed me how I had unknowingly impacted others' lives. One day stood out to me. As I walked through Brooksville, I saw a senior citizen trying to cross the street. She looked bewildered and exposed. I came over and steadied her. It wasn't perfect, but it meant everything. Grabbing my hand, she said, "Thank you, young man. You are an angel." From Jesus' perspective, I now see how important that small action was. I grinned and went on my way, unaware of her deep words. Jesus said that modest acts of compassion accumulate. They create waves that spread far beyond what you can see. The review detailed the times I failed and hurt those I loved. When Jessica couldn't reach me, I could see her struggle and my mother's suffering. Though necessary, these sequences were agonizing. Jesus whispered, "Ethan, you're not on trial. This is so you can learn and grow." Some knowledge was forbidden to me because it would harm my spiritual growth. I hesitated, but I understood the restriction. The life evaluation has more lows and highs. I knew when I had unwittingly made somebody happy or sad. Every situation allowed me to consider my actions and their effects. The scene with my sister Jessica was upsetting. She spent Christmas with her family over her college break. She was thrilled to see me, but I was too focused with my troubles to notice. She invited Ethan to the mall to buy gifts together, and her smile was hopeful. "I'm not feeling it, Jess. I think you should go it alone," I stated coldly, avoiding her sight. Her eyes showed disappointment and a pang of anguish I had missed previously. Though she tried, her pain was clear. I wasn't aware of how much my words hurt her since I was so hurt. Her remarks were barely audible as she left, but she wanted to spend time with him. Jesus showed me Jessica's sorrow as she observed her brother's rejection and helplessness. It was a hard but essential lesson. Do you realize, Ethan, the profound impact that your words and deeds can have on the people we love? Even the smallest encounters can leave indelible marks, Jesus said compassionately. Also in the review were uplifting and generous moments. I envisioned asking Sam, an old friend, for help during a terrible period in my life. Sam had a same situation. Sam, one of my few friends, supported me through everything. I made a living selling street products. "Ethan, I'm completely lost. I have no idea what to do," Sam said one night, trembling. "Sam, we'll overcome this as a team." "You're not alone," I said, caressing his shoulder. Sam was moved by such simple remarks. Inspired by our moment of connection, I saw him fight his addictions. It brought home the idea that kindness can overcome misfortune. Jesus kept teaching me about empathy and the power of our actions in each of these incidents. I am so grateful for this opportunity to grow. Ethan, you are destined for heaven because you have enough goodness in your heart. Despite your mistakes, I am your guide. Love is essential in every instant of life. Jesus communicated with me constantly and immediately. He informed me there were witnesses of God everywhere, and that my agony was for a reason, which gave me a new perspective on my life struggles. Be aware that you are not alone. Your trials are helping you grow spiritually, Jesus said, Ethan, with contagious confidence. I was reluctant, but I could see why some knowledge couldn't be returned since it would inhibit my spiritual progress. With the information I'd obtained, I could proceed with confidence. After the life review and future revelation, I was reluctant to leave Jesus' serenity and solace. Returning to my physical form compelled me to face the world's challenges and pains again. Sad, I said, I don't want to go back. I'm content here. It hurts there. Jesus looked at me with great compassion. Ethan, I know you're busy. Your earthly journey continues. I was overwhelmed by his goal and replied, what can I do? I'm one broken, lost person. I retreated. Jesus said each soul has a unique purpose. You are not alone. God and I will support you throughout. Your employment on earth has helped you grow spiritually. My mind replayed scenarios of my future self-development and the people I would help, giving me hope and showing me that my pain was real. You will be a beacon of light to those who are in darkness, he said. Remember that love and compassion are the most powerful forces there are. That assurance renewed my motivation to return, even though I was hesitant. Jesus promised that once I performed my mission, I would spend eternally with God, who loved me and would never leave me. I gasped out, I promise to do my best, admitting my guilt. I will try to fulfill what you asked of me. Jesus' final embrace and smile filled my heart with love. Ethan, we trust you. Go change things. I felt pulled back into my body as nightfall turned to awareness. When I opened my eyes, I was on the bed next to the empty pill bottle and the vodka bottle. To overcome my personal demons and help others in difficult times, I relied on my commitment to Jesus and God's unwavering presence in my life. Volunteering at homeless shelters and treatment centers was a big part of this vow. Serving hot soup to Brooksville residents on a cold winter night stands out in my memory. The shelter had weathered walls and makeshift furnishings, but the residents felt a sense of belonging and had faith in the future. I saw a young man sitting alone in a corner. His demeanor was weary and his eyes vacant. I went over to chat. To break the ice, I said, "May I sit with you? Me name is Ethan." He hesitated before nodding yes. "My name is Alex." We sat down and talked. Alex told me about his drug addiction and homelessness. His words resonated with my own difficulties and pledges. "You know, Alex," I continued, "I've been sad too. I've been through things I thought I'd never get over, but there's always hope, even in the darkest moments." Alex looked at me with wonder. "How did you escape?" I informed him about my touch with Jesus and near-death experience and how it changed my life and gave me direction. I said it kept me going. "I think you can find that strength too. You're not alone." A mentoring relationship and friendship developed from this conversation. Alex started attending the shelter and my group sessions regularly. I noticed a change in him as he began to believe he could improve his situation and make a difference. One afternoon at a group session, Alex said, "I always felt my life was bound to be a failure," brokenly. But meeting Ethan and hearing his story made me realize that I too can have a second chance. I cried reading these sentences because I understood my journey was helping others find hope and meaning. Along with my charity work, I started speaking at local events and schools to share my experience and teachings. Sarah, a young woman I met at one of these talks, was dealing with a difficult family situation like me. After the speech, she realized she was lonely and said, "It's like no one understands me." As I comforted her, I remarked, "I know how you feel. I went through something similar, but there is a way out. You are stronger than you think." After joining like-minded groups, Sarah gained confidence in her capacity to overcome obstacles. My mom, Mary, has supported me through thick and thin. Our bond has grown stronger with time and spiritual healing, despite its tension. We had tea in the kitchen earlier that night, and she said, "I'm very proud of you, Ethan. You have altered your life and are helping so many others. The guy you've become would amaze your father." These comments inspired me to keep going because I knew my mother noticed and valued my change. My sister Jessica also strengthened our bond. Even when I didn't appreciate it, she was my rock. We got back in touch and encouraged each other. Jessica told Ethan, "I always knew you had something special, and now you're really making a difference." Rekindled relationships and my work gave my life purpose. At last, I felt like I was carrying out Jesus' will. In 2004, I went through another dark patch of physical discomfort and isolation. I was devastated again by the incessant agony. One night, I lay in bed and felt like giving up. As I wondered, why is this suffering persistent, I was crying. I cannot take it anymore. Then I felt God's handiwork again. A peaceful, soothing light surrounded me, and a strong, loving voice addressed me. "Ethan, you have company. Your journey continues. You have a mission." I hadn't felt calm in a while until this individual was there. I remembered my vows to Jesus and his mission for me. I resisted surrender and decided to persevere. I said, "I'll keep going," regaining my determination. "I will fulfill my mission." This encounter strengthened my faith in the power of community to sustain us through adversity. I felt God's presence, who led and supported me. I'm sharing this story today to let everyone know that there's a purpose to our lives, even though we face problems and sorrow. We must hold fast to our faith and optimism since Jesus promised changes have already happened. If you want to be notified of new videos, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell. Let us spread the message that life is more than meets the eye to